Your voice, your opinion, your community. Fact TV, free speech, protected.
Well, it looks like I am about out of eggs. All I have left is one. Maybe I'll scramble it. Oh, if I fry it, I could make a fried egg sandwich. One egg would not make much of an omelet. Oh, maybe I'll just keep it warm and see if it hatches. Oh, hello there. Welcome to Life Lessons for Kids, and I'm Grandma Kitty. I was just trying to figure out what to do with my last egg. I would like to see it hatch, but you know what? It's not going to happen. No. Eggs that you buy in the store, well, they don't really hatch. And I guess that's a good thing, right? Because you wouldn't want to open your refrigerator door and find a bunch of little chickies hopping around in there, would you? No. Well, did you know that eggs are a symbol of new life? I mean, you never know what might hatch from an egg. Oh, look, it could be a bird, like a beautiful cardinal, or a turkey, or an eagle, or it could be a little ducky, or it could be a beautiful swan, or it could be a frog. Frogs come from eggs. It could be a snake. Or a spider. They come from eggs too, but I guess they have their purpose in life, don't they? Yes. I mean, the size and the shape of the egg, it'll give you an indication of what's inside, but you don't really know until it hatches. Do you think that the hatching process is easy? No, I mean, look at my poster here. I don't know how well you can see it, but we've got the egg that's cracking and the little chickies coming out, and he looks like he is really tired. I mean, eventually he'll dry off and he'll be a cute, fluffy little chick like these down here. But oh my goodness, up here he just looks exhausted because it's a lot of work. And I've heard that you can't help a chicken hatch from its egg. Do you know why? They build up strength when they're pecking their way out of that egg. And if you try to help them hatch, well, I heard they might die because they won't be strong enough. They need to go through that process and work their way out of that egg by themselves so that they'll build up the strength they need to survive. Yeah, so the hatching process is not always easy, but do you know what we could learn from this? I think there's a couple of things we could learn from this. I think one is that God knows what's inside of us, and he knows what we someday will be. Well, here I found a verse in Jeremiah. Jeremiah is in the Old Testament. And he was a prophet. And it says, "For I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord, plans to prosper you and not to harm you, plans to give you hope in a future." And that's Jeremiah 29:11, and that's the New International Version. So it says that God knows the plans he has for us. I mean, that means he knows what we're going to be someday. Yeah. And then in Ephesians Chapter 4, Ephesians is in the New Testament. In verses 11 through 16, it talks about some different people in the church, and it says that some will be apostles, and they're like traveling missionaries, and some will be prophets, and they're kind of like inspired teachers, and some will be evangelists, and we see evangelists on TV, like Dr. David Jeremiah or Joyce Meyer or Joel Osteen. I don't know if you've ever heard of Billy Graham, but he was a great evangelist too. They're public speakers that are working hard to lead people to God. And then it also says there are pastors and there are teachers, like Sunday school teachers. Yeah, so these are talking about positions in the church. And you may not know what you want to be yet when you grow up, and that's okay. You might want to be a firefighter or a doctor or a lawyer, or maybe you want to work at Home Depot or Walmart or McDonald's. And that's okay. They're all important. Everyone needs a job, and those jobs are all important, but God knows what you will be. And here's the thing, I hope it doesn't take you as long to figure it out as it did me. I guess I was a bit of a late bloomer. I was almost ready to retire before I figured out what I wanted to do when I grew up. But God knows what you will be someday. And then another thing is that finding your calling in life, well, that's a process. Yeah, you don't just wake up one day and say, I think I'll be a doctor and then start being a doctor tomorrow. Oh no, you got to go to school and you got to go to college and you have to practice and learn. It's a lot of work. It's a process to learn to become a doctor or a teacher or a firefighter or whatever it is you want to do when you grow up. Yeah. And do you know what the Bible says about that? The Bible says to work hard. In 2 Timothy chapter 2, verse 15, it says, study and do your best to present yourself to God approved, a workman who has no reason to be ashamed, accurately handling and skillfully teaching the word of God. So it says to study. The Bible says to study. It says to work hard so that you will be approved and that you won't be ashamed. Yeah, so do you know there is nothing wrong with working hard? Do you know what hard work will get you? It'll get you good test scores, yeah, and higher grades, yeah, and it will be something that your mom and dad will be pleased with, your teacher will be pleased with, and God will be pleased with, yeah, so there is nothing wrong with working hard, yeah. You should always work with the goal of making God happy. Yeah, that is a great goal to have. Yeah. And just like this little chickie who works so hard to get out of his shell, it'll make you stronger. Yeah. And I do hope that it doesn't take you as long to figure out what you want to do as it did for me. But, you know, God knows what you're going to do someday. And once you figure it out, I say, go for it. Yeah, work hard. Work hard and make God proud of you. Well, I hope you enjoyed our little chat today. This has been Grandma Kitty with Life Lessons for Kids. You take care. God bless, and I'll see you again soon. Oh my, look at this lovely gold box. It is beautiful. I wonder what's inside. Oh, now, well, that is very disappointing. Oh, hello there. Welcome to Life Lessons for Kids, and I'm Grandma Kitty. I found this lovely gold box, but do you want to know what's inside? Nothing. Absolutely nothing. It's empty. Oh, but it definitely is beautiful, isn't it? You know? Oh, that reminds me. I was just reading in the Bible recently about a gold box. It was a box that the Israelites built when they were wandering in the wilderness. Oh, and I bet it was beautiful. Yeah. You know, God told them exactly how to make it. Yeah. In Exodus chapter 25, which is in the Old Testament. Oh, God gave them the measurements so they would know how big to make it. And then he told them to cover it with gold, to melt down gold jewelry and cover it with gold. Oh, I bet it was beautiful. And then he said to carry it on poles so that nobody would touch it. So they made these long rods, and there were 4 priests, one on each corner, and they would set the rod up on their shoulder to carry the box so that nobody would touch it. And then on top of the ark, they put a mercy seat, and there were 2 cherubim like angels, and they spread their wings out. And then Exodus 25:22. Oh, let me tell you what that says. This is God talking, and he says, there, above the cover between the 2 cherubim that are over the ark of the covenant law, I will meet with you and give you all my commands for the Israelites. And that's Exodus 25:22, and that's the New International Version. So that's where they were going to meet with God, and that's why it was such a holy box, because that was the meeting place to meet God. Yeah, so it was called the Ark of the Covenant, and there were 3 things in there. One was the 10 Commandments. Now my 10 Commandments. This is a wooden plaque, but remember the 10 Commandments that Moses got from God. They were carved in stone, so I'm sure they were heavy. But the 10 Commandments were in there, and then Aaron's rod was in there, and then a pot of manna. So the 10 Commandments. They are the covenant, which means agreement between God and man. It's basically the law. It's the rules, how he expects us to behave, and the rules he expects us to follow. And that's probably why it was called the Ark of the Covenant, because covenant means agreement. Now, Aaron's rod was a stick, and it was probably a better looking stick than this one. But see, the Israelites had rebelled against Aaron and Moses, and so God wanted to show them that he had chosen Aaron. So he told them to lay out 12 rods, one for each tribe, and on the tribe of Levi put Aaron's name. And so they did that. And in the morning, even though the rod was not attached to a tree anywhere, in the morning when they looked, the rod had blossomed and it was covered with all kinds of blossoms. And that showed that God had chosen Aaron. And so the third thing that was in the Ark of the Covenant was a jar of manna. Do you remember how God provided manna for his children, the children of Israel, to eat while they wandered in the wilderness? Do you know what manna means? It means, what is it? Because no one had ever seen it before. But every morning they'd get up and there'd be manna out on the ground. And every morning except the Sabbath day, they'd gather it up, and that was their food. And then when they finally made it to the promised land, well, the manna stopped. But God wanted them to save a jar of manna and carry it in the Ark of the Covenant to remind the people that God provides for his people. So the Ark of the Covenant, it has a couple of different names. So it's called mostly the Ark of the Covenant, but it's also called the Ark of the Lord, the Ark of God's Strength, the Ark of Testimony, and the Ark of God, because it was God that wanted them to build it. So it was probably very beautiful, because gold is so shiny and beautiful, and the box was just covered with gold. Yeah. And now there was a time when the Philistines stole the ark, and so they brought it into their temple. Now they served pagan gods, and so they had a god named Dagon, and this is a gingerbread man, but we'll just pretend that this was Dagon, and they brought the gold ark into their pagan temple, and they put it beside Dagon. And in the morning when they woke up, Dagon was flat on his face. So they just stood him back up again. And then the next morning they went in, and he was flat on his face again. But not only was he flat on his face, but his head and his hands were broken off. God was making a statement, He wasn't going to hang around with that pagan god. And so not only did that happen, but the Philistines got sick. And so they were afraid of the Ark of the Covenant, and they tried sending it away to different towns and cities, and they didn't want it either, because they were afraid of it too. So finally they just took the Ark of the Covenant, and they put it on a cart, and they hooked the cart up to a couple of cows, and they just sent it away. And it finally did make it back to the Israelites, but no one really knows what happened to it. Nobody's quite sure what happened to the Ark of the Covenant. Have you ever heard of the movie Indiana Jones and the Raiders of the Lost Ark? Well, that was about an expedition to try to find the lost Ark. But, nobody really knows for sure what happened to it. But I would have liked to have seen it, because I bet it was very beautiful. But, today we don't need a gold-plated box to feel God's presence, do we? No. I mean, it was symbolic for the Israelite people, but we don't have to go to the Ark of the Covenant to meet with God and at the mercy seat. No, I mean, we can just kneel beside our bed and pray, or we could pray on the bus while we're riding back and forth to school. Yeah, we can meet with him anytime and anywhere. That's pretty special, isn't it? Don't you think that's a pretty special thing? Yeah. So, well, now you know what the Ark of the Covenant was. Yeah. So, do you remember what was inside? The 10 Commandments, Aaron's rod, and the pot of manna. That's right. Yeah. Well, I hope you enjoyed this lesson about the Ark of the Covenant. Well, you take care. God bless. And Grandma Kitty will see you again soon. Oh, Bella Bear, you do look lovely, all dressed up in that dress you wore when you married Benjamin Bear. Although most brides do wear white. What was it? Nothing, Bella. I was just thinking out loud. Hello there. Welcome to Life Lessons for Kids, and I'm Grandma Kitty. I was just talking to my friend here, Bella Bear. Do you remember a while ago when she wanted to marry Benjamin, but she wanted to have all the good things and let him have all the bad things? Yeah, but she came to her senses, didn't you, Bella? Yeah, and she realized that you have to take the good with the bad, right? You don't get just all good things in life. You have to take some bad things too. Yeah. Oh, but she did make a beautiful bride, didn't she? Speaking of brides, I was reading in my Bible and I came across the story about a bride for Isaac. Yeah. Do you remember how we were talking about Abraham and how he was 100 years old when his promised son Isaac was finally born? That's a very long time to wait for a baby, isn't it? Yeah. So when Isaac grew up and was old enough to get married, well, Abraham didn't want him to marry just anybody. He didn't want him to just marry the girl next door. Isaac was very special and he wanted him to marry the right woman. Yeah, and so he wanted him to have a wife that had the same culture and beliefs as them. And so he sent his oldest servant on a mission to find her. Right here in Genesis 24, verses 3 and 4. He's talking to his servant and he says, I want you to swear by the Lord, the God of heaven and the God of earth, that you will not get a wife for my son from the daughters of the Canaanites, among whom I am living, but will go to my country and my own relatives and get a wife for my son Isaac. And that's Genesis 24, 3 and 4, and that's the New International Version. So he sent him away to go find a bride. But, Abraham's servant was a bit concerned because he was afraid that if he found the right woman, she wouldn't want to go with him. You see, back in those days, they didn't have cell phones and Facebook and FaceTime and emails and text, all the ways we keep in touch nowadays. I mean, when you left your family back then, well, there was a chance you might never see them again. No. So, or hear from them. So Abraham's servant was afraid that if he found the right woman, she wouldn't want to go with him. So Abraham told his servant that God would send an angel ahead of him and prepare the way. So the servant took 10 camels and he headed out. And when he arrived at Abraham's homeland, he stopped by a well and he prayed. And he asked God and he said, when the ladies from the city come out to get water, and I ask one of them for a drink, the one who offers to water my camels, let her be the woman that I'm looking for. Now, do you know why that was a significant thing to request? Well, because camels drink a lot of water. Do you know how much camels drink? 53 gallons of water in 3 minutes. So this is 1 gallon, and a camel can drink 53 of them in 3 minutes. And how many camels did he have? He had 10. So if you do 53 times 10, well, that's 530 gallons of water. That would be a lot of work for somebody to have to draw out of that well and water those camels. Yeah, that would be a very generous person to offer to do that. But, almost as soon as he had finished his prayer, this beautiful woman came out to the well and he asked her for a drink. And do you know what she said to him? She said, oh, sure, and I will draw water for your camels as well. Oh, my goodness. God was faithful and answered his prayer, and that was a quick answer to prayer, too. And so then he went back with her to meet her family and found out that she was part of Abraham's family, which meant she was from the same culture and beliefs. So what do you think she said? Do you think she said yes or no? Do you think she was willing to leave her family and go start a new life in a new land that was unfamiliar to her with people she didn't know? Or do you think she said no and she decided to stay with her family where she was comfortable? What do you think she said? She said yes, of course, right? Because if she didn't say yes, well, we wouldn't be reading about her in the Bible all these years later, right? Yeah, so she said yes. God can do some pretty special things with us when we're willing to leave our comfort zone. And she was willing to leave her comfort zone and go meet Isaac and become his wife. Do you know what her name was? Rebecca. Yeah, so her name was Rebecca, and she left her family, and she followed Abraham's servant to her new home and became the bride of Isaac. That's a pretty special love story, isn't it, Bella? What's that? Oh, Bella says she likes happy endings, and I do too. Don't you like happy endings? Yeah. Well, we'll talk some more about Isaac and Rebecca and their children at a later date, but that's all we had time for today. So you take care. You have a wonderful day. God bless, and Grandma Kitty will see you again soon. Oh, let's see. We've got the Easter bunny and Easter baskets. We've got the eggs and the chocolate eggs to go in the eggs for the egg hunt, the coloring kit, oh, the peeps, oh, this will work well for my Easter bonnet. Oh, I do believe we have everything we need. Oh dear, where's the Easter ham? Oh no, I forgot the Easter ham for dinner. Oh, hello there. Welcome to Life Lessons for Kids, and I'm Grandma Kitty. I was just trying to make sure I have everything for Easter, but it seems I have forgotten something. I have everything that I need for our Easter get-together except the Easter ham. Yeah, I forgot the Easter ham. Yeah, well, you know, all these things make Easter fun, don't they? Yeah. But that's not really what Easter is all about. Do you know what Easter is all about? Oh, it's all about Jesus, God's Son. Yeah. Do you remember how we celebrated Christmas a while ago? And Christmas was Jesus' birthday. And so Easter is when Jesus died. And we don't celebrate his death. We celebrate that he didn't stay in the grave. He rose from the dead, and he was seen by his disciples and lots of other people. It's really quite a story. You know, they say it's the greatest story ever told, but it's not just a story, not just a tale that somebody once told, but it really happened. And here, 2,000 something years later, we're still celebrating it. So have you heard of Good Friday? Good Friday is the day that Jesus died on the cross. Yep, he hung on the cross. And then the next day was the Sabbath. So they just put him in a tomb until Sunday. So when Sunday morning came, their sorrow was about to turn into rejoicing. Yeah. So in Matthew chapter 28, Matthew is in the New Testament. It talks about Mary Magdalene and another Mary. There were two of them, two Marys, and they were about to become very merry. Oh, yes, they were. Yeah. So those Marys, well, they were going to the tomb to put spices on Jesus' body, but when they got there, they saw an angel. Oh, let me tell you what the angel said to them. So the angel said to the woman, "Do not be afraid, for I know that you are looking for Jesus who was crucified. He is not here. He has risen just as he said. Come and see the place where he lay." And that's Matthew 28, verses 5 and 6. And so the two Marys, they went over to the tomb and they looked inside. And do you know what they saw? Nothing, because he wasn't there. Just the cloth that he had been wrapped in. And Jesus wasn't there. So they ran to tell his disciples, but then they saw Jesus for themselves, so they knew that he really was alive. So that's an amazing story, isn't it? Now, let me ask you this. Do you think that Jesus had to die on the cross? Do you think he had to? You know, he didn't have to. He could have called down angels to come rescue him, but he knew that was his purpose in life. That's why he came to earth, was to be the ultimate sacrifice for us so that we can go to heaven. And I'm very glad he did that, aren't you? Aren't you glad? Don't you want to go to heaven someday? Oh, I know I do. Yeah. And because Jesus came to earth and died on the cross, well, he made a way for us to go to heaven too. And that is a very awesome thing to know. Yeah, I mean, the Easter Bunny is cute. And Easter egg hunts, well, they are a lot of fun. They really are. And who doesn't like getting an Easter basket full of candy, especially if it's chocolate? Oh, I've got the chocolate Easter Bunny here. Oh, I just love chocolate, you know. But once you eat it, it's gone, you know. But what Jesus did for us on that first Easter, well, that will last forever. I mean, not just for the rest of your life, but for all of eternity. So, well, I guess I better hurry to the grocery store and go get myself a ham before I forget it again. Yeah, we'll be eating chocolate for Easter dinner. Oh, I do hope you have a wonderful Easter. Enjoy your time with your family and have fun at church and have a wonderful dinner and enjoy your Easter ham. But don't eat too much candy. No. You take care. God bless, and Grandma Kitty will see you again soon.